The WNBA was nothing before Caitlyn Clark. And she has made it into something. I know how great she is because of Caitlyn Clark. The Arike Amagawali, and I'm sorry if I messed up the name, the girl in Dallas. That girl's a baller. These guys are all working off of platforms that were already built long before they got there, and they have not elevated that platform.
Ever feel like the media's out to get your favorite players? Well, the WNBA thinks that's exactly what's happening with Caitlyn Clark. But here's the thing, USA Today is not backing down. They're firing back and it's getting messy. Want to know why this fight matters for women's basketball? Picture this. Game 1 of the WNBA playoffs, Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. The ball's in play and suddenly, bam, Dijonai Carrington's hand meets Caitlyn Clark's eye. Ouch, that's when things got wild.
Charles Barkley talking about the Caitlyn Clark phenomenon and the people he blames for blowing this whole Caitlyn Clark deal.
People believe what we say on television. Just because people don't like you or your personality, they can't get on TV and slander you. It's just total bullshit. These ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan, they cannot have this Caitlyn Clark thing up any worse if they try. What is going on here? And the thing I love about her, she never says a word. But these ladies, who I love and respect their game, they couldn't have this thing up.
Enter Christine Brennan, USA Today reporter. She asked Carrington about the incident and the WNBA loses it. They're saying Brennan's trying to make Clark look bad. But USA Today, they're not having it. They're standing by their reporter. Now we've got a full-on war between the WNBA Players Association and one of the biggest newspapers in the country. And you know what? This fight could change everything about how we see women's basketball. Are you ready to find out why?
If Caitlyn Clark somehow wins the WNBA championship this year, she will have put together the greatest rookie season in the history of professional sport. Include Caitlyn Clark in the conversation, as I like to do, but we're also going to bring the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Caitlyn Clark, Deion Sanders, all in the same boat with historical perspective and knowledge. And more than anything, I'm gonna blast the media.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Remember when sports interviews were just about the game? Those days are over. USA Today just fired back at the WNBA, and their response is shaking up more than just basketball. It's got people asking, who really controls the narrative in women's sports? Let's break it down. Christine Brennan, a USA Today reporter, asked Dijonai Carrington about that eye-popping moment with Caitlyn Clark. Seems like a normal question, right? Wrong. That simple inquiry set off a firestorm that's got everyone talking. Here's the deal. The WNBA Players Association went off, saying Brennan was trying to make Clark look like the victim and Carrington the bad guy. They're not happy, and they're making it known. But USA Today, they're not backing down. Not even a little bit. USA Today came out swinging, defending Brennan like she's their star player. They're saying, hey, we're just doing our job. We're here to report without bias, not push some hidden agenda. They're standing firm, saying Brennan was just trying to get Carrington's side of the story. No tricks, no traps, just straight up reporting. But it gets even juicier. USA Today didn't stop there. They brought out the big guns, reminding everyone that Brennan isn't just some rookie reporter. She's been in the game for years, fighting for women in sports. They're basically saying, you really think she'd try to undermine a female athlete? Come on. This whole thing is like a powder keg, and USA Today just lit the fuse. It's not just about one incident anymore. It's about how we talk about women's sports, how we cover it, and who gets to control the story.
The Atlanta Dream set the record for the biggest crowd to watch a WNBA game in Georgia history.
Pretty exciting. One of the big reasons fans flock to State Farm Arena is, of course, the Caitlyn Clark effect.
Caitlyn Clark tonight.
Oh, gotta watch number 22.
I've been watching Caitlyn for a couple of years, and since then I've dreamed about coming to a game.
just brought a lot to the WNBA and also to the game itself and for women, so women's sports.
Think about it. If reporters start feeling like they can't ask tough questions, what happens to sports journalism? Do we end up with nothing but fluff pieces and pre-approved questions? That's not what anyone wants, right? But on the flip side, the WNBA has a point too. They've been fighting for visibility and respect for years. Every story, every headline matters. They don't want their players painted as villains or victims. They want fair coverage that focuses on their skills, not drama. So now we're at this crossroads. USA Today's stance could change everything. Reporters might think twice before asking certain questions. Players might be more guarded in interviews. The whole dynamic between media and athletes could shift. And you know what's wild? This could be just the beginning. If other news outlets follow USA Today's lead, we might see a whole new era of sports reporting.
They've made Caitlyn Clark more interesting. They've made Caitlyn Clark the biggest star in American sports. They got this conversation wrong. The ladies, the active players in the WNBA, they haven't screwed up anything. Their little petty jealousy and sniping at Caitlyn Clark is why 2 million people are tuning in to watch Caitlyn Clark play basketball and to watch a bunch of other women blow layups every night.
More direct questions, less sugarcoating. But is that what fans want? Is that what the league needs? It's like we're watching a game within a game. On one side, you've got the media fighting for their right to ask tough questions. On the other, you've got players in the league trying to control their own narrative. And caught in the middle, the fans, trying to figure out what's really going on. Just when you thought you understood the rules, the WNBA players flipped the script. They're not just answering questions anymore, they're questioning the questions themselves. Is this the start of a revolution in how we cover women's sports? Or will it backfire on the players? The WNBA Players Association came out swinging, and they're not pulling any punches. They're accusing Christine Brennan of baiting and unprofessional conduct. Can you believe it? These players are done with the same old song and dance. They're saying enough is enough. We're taking control of our narrative. But here's the thing, this isn't just about one reporter or one incident. This is about years of frustration boiling over. The WNBA has been fighting for respect and visibility since day one. Every headline, every story, every soundbite matters. And now they're making sure their voices are heard loud and clear. Think about it. These women have been playing their hearts out on the court, breaking records and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in basketball. But for years, they've felt like they're playing second fiddle to the men's game. The media coverage, often spotty. The attention, sometimes more focused on drama than their incredible skills. It's like they've been stuck in the shadow of the NBA, trying to step into the spotlight. Now, with this confrontation, they're not just stepping into the spotlight, they're grabbing the mic. The players are saying, hey, we're not just here to play, we're here to be heard. They're challenging the way reporters ask questions, the angles they take, and the stories they choose to tell. But you know what's wild? This could change everything about how we see women's sports. Imagine a world where athletes have more say in how they're portrayed in the media, where they can push back against questions they feel are unfair or biased. It's like we're watching a whole new game unfold, and the rules are being rewritten in real time. Of course, this isn't without risks. Some people are asking, what if this backfires? What if reporters start shying away from covering the WNBA because they're afraid of backlash? It's a real concern. After all, visibility is crucial for the league's growth. The last thing they want is less coverage, right? But maybe that's the point. Maybe the players are saying, we'd rather have less coverage than unfair coverage. They're demanding quality over quantity. They want stories that focus on their skills, their strategies, their impact on and off the court, not just drama or controversy. Yeah, this whole situation is like a pressure cooker that's been building up steam for years. The historical struggle for visibility, the constant comparisons to men's sports, the feeling of being undervalued, it's all coming to a head. And now, with social media giving players a direct line to fans and media, they're not holding back. You've got to wonder, is this the turning point for women's sports coverage? Are we seeing the birth of a new era where athletes have more control over their narratives? Or will this create a rift between players and media that's hard to bridge? One thing's for sure, the dynamics between WNBA players and the media will never be the same.
You knew they were going to come for you. You had to know that. Now, to the degree that they're doing so, I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. You're at a decisive advantage because they made the mistake of letting you know who they are, whoever those people are. That's not the case with all, it's not the case with most, but those who screech the loudest get the most attention sometimes. And that's what the worst of cynics and critics do.
Reporters might think twice before asking certain questions. Players might be more outspoken about how they're portrayed. It's like we're watching a whole new playbook being written right before our eyes. As the dust settles on this media showdown, all eyes turn to the rookie sensation at the center of it all. Is Caitlyn Clark the WNBA's golden ticket or a ticking time bomb? Her impact goes way beyond the court, and it's shaking up the league in ways no one saw coming. Caitlyn Clark's arrival in the WNBA has been like a meteor hitting the basketball world. She's not just playing the game, she's changing it. But here's the thing, her rising stardom is a double-edged sword for the league. On one hand, she's bringing in fans, media attention, and excitement. On the other, she's creating a narrative that's got some players feeling left out in the cold. And think about it, Clark's been crushing it on the court. She's 4th in the league in assists per game and scored over 150 points in her first 10 games. That's insane, but all this focus on Clark, it's created a storm that's got everyone talking and not always in a good way. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert had to step in and say something. She's like, hey, everyone's watching Caitlyn, so they're only focused on her. Engelbert's not just defending Clark, she's trying to remind everyone that the WNBA has always been a physical game. It's not just about one player. Engelbert's got a point. The WNBA is full of intense competition. There's pick and rolls, players reading the floor, bodies colliding. It's not for the faint of heart, but with all eyes on Clark, it's like people are forgetting that this is how the game's always been played. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Clark's popularity is bringing more eyes to the WNBA. That's great, right? More viewers, more media coverage, maybe even more money for the league. But it's also shining a spotlight on some uncomfortable truths. Some players feel like their contributions are being overlooked. They've been in the league for years, putting in the work, but suddenly it's all about the rookie. Can you blame them for feeling a little salty? It's like they're saying, hey, we've been here all along, playing our hearts out. Where was all this attention before?
WNBA Player of the Week. There have only been 40 triple-doubles in the history of the WNBA. Cheryl Swoops recorded the first WNBA triple-double during the 1999 season, while Caitlyn Clark logged the most recent triple-double earlier this week. She now has 102 on the season and is 19 away from Diana Taurasi in second place and 26 away from UNESCO of the New York Liberty. She ain't beating Asia Wilson for the MVP, but she's beating Angel Reese for the Rookie of the Year. That's a wrap. That's over. And props to Angel Reese, who's had a good year, by the way.
And it's not just about hurt feelings. This Clark effect is highlighting some bigger issues in sports journalism. How do race and gender play into the way athletes are portrayed? Why does one player get all the attention while others fade into the background? These are tough questions, and the answers aren't always pretty. The media's treatment of Clark has opened up a whole can of worms. It's forcing everyone to take a hard look at how women's sports are covered. Are we focusing too much on individual stars instead of the game as a whole? Are we perpetuating stereotypes without even realizing it? These are the kinds of questions that keep league officials up at night. But here's the kicker. As much as Clark's stardom might be causing some tension, it's also a huge opportunity for the WNBA.
The Caitlyn Clark situation where Kennedy Carter side hipped her, basically checked her with a, side hip move and whatever, knocking her to the ground. One of the things that I highlighted was that Caitlyn Clark's the golden goose. She happens to be a terrific talent who's white and very, very marketable. It's all justifiable because there were people that were pounding the pavement and going through so much to help elevate the WNBA's profile long before Caitlyn Clark ever came along, and yet were denied that level of recognition.
This could be the moment the league breaks through to a wider audience. It's like they've been knocking on the door for years, and Clark might just be the key that finally opens it. The real challenge now is how the WNBA handles this moment. Can they use Clark's popularity to lift up the entire league, or will the focus on one player create rifts that are hard to heal? It's a balancing act, and the whole basketball world is watching to see if they can pull it off. This whole WNBA versus USA Today showdown is wild, right? It's not just about one incident anymore. We're talking about a game changer for women's sports coverage. Think about it, the WNBA players are done with the old way of doing things. They want control over their story, but USA Today, they're not backing down either. It's like two heavyweight champs going at it in the media ring. Here's the crazy part. This fight could change everything. How reporters ask questions, how players respond, even how we see women's sports. It's like we're watching a whole new playbook being written, but you know what's really mind-blowing? We're part of this too. As fans, we've got a say in how this all plays out. So, what do you think? Are we ready for a new era in women's sports coverage?